Hello, good morning to you, and many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy Today, coming to you from Galaxy Television. Yesterday was Workers' Day, May Day celebration across the world, and indeed Nigerians joined the rest of the world to mark this year's May Day with much fanfare and a charge to governments to pay the new minimum wage. But today we'll not be looking at a minimum wage, or we're looking at something still related to the workers. On the lifestyle edition on Galaxy Today, we will be looking at what does the employer and employee want. That's what we're looking at on the show this morning. My name is Justin Akadonye.
And of course, I'm Uche Onyekuje. Good morning to you and welcome. Today being 2nd May 2019, like Justin rightly said, it promises to be all interesting. Of course, we're looking at what does employer and employee want. Do not forget to be part of this program. You can send SMS to the number that we're written on the screen. Ask questions and of course make comments into that number. As well as on our social media handle, just use #Galaxy Today. A warm welcome to you. Once again, Justin, when I saw this topic, what does employee and employer want? It just crossed my mind. I know most employee wants a job, they want a well-paid job, they don't want salaries being old, but employer also wants people who can channel their strength and make it more profitable. But beyond that, I'm just saying what employers would want. So as an employee, let me start with you. What exactly do you want?
To speak selfishly, or to speak like the typical quintessential worker in Nigeria, I want Uncle Steve to increase my salary. Oh my goodness. I hope my boss is not watching this morning.
Well, I know that most employers or employee would always want that. But then, in treating this topic, and of course the following topic we have a Lagos guest here. And there's also a second topic, which is optimizing technology in real estate.
Yes.
A lot of Nigerians are beginning to invest in real estate. You see people doing something general merchandise, all those Justin's kind of people. You see Justin and Sons Company. They are into importation, exportation, general merchandise. Everybody's going into real estate. We'll be looking at that as well. But we have a guest in Lagos who I will allow Justin introduce.
Yes, we have a life coach, and of course he is also an education consultant. Let's make welcome Coach Biodun Kolawole. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today.
Wow, Justin, Uche, it's my honor, and the beautiful people across the world. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So was I selfish to ask my boss to increase my salary?
But I feel if you want to ask for increase in salary, it means you have to ask, you are also going to be tasking yourself to do more,
Okay,
right?
I think Justin was just right, because everybody who works for somebody wants, like, one day the guy comes and say, I've upgraded how much I'm paying you. I'm moving you by 20%, 40%. And like he also said, it's an average employer question. So what will you do for me differently?
Exactly.
That will make me pay you this amount, justify why I should pay you this much. So like we will keep having, it's the employer wants something, the employee wants something, but as a form of introduction, I think in the larger context, the whole goal, the whole thing we are trying to produce must become clear to us as a people. And I want to talk in context of Africa. And the productivity in Africa is one of the lowest in the world. And it shows in what we produce globally in terms of our contribution to the global GDP. Research put it that we produce 2.64% of all the production in the world.
Wow.
So if you work in this sphere of the world, how do you feel when you go to work? If you're an employer in that context, the question is, how do you feel? Are you doing your best? Are we most productive? Is this all of our potentials? So I like that to be like the middle point of our discourse, not just what one wants over what the other wants. The conversation can be richer when we know that we've got the productivity challenge that we as employer and we as employee must fight to conquer.
Okay, I like us to look at, I know that every company, every organization has a vision. And I know that one of the ways to task your employees to give them their best and also be productive is when there are rewards. What we do to children, if you pass very well, I'm going to take you so place, just a way of motivation. And also on the employee's part, but in a place where there is, because I feel as an employee now, one of the things that can make you be your best is probably if the environment has some kind of healthy competition. So say that you want to meet the company's vision statement, and then you want to meet, probably up your game. aside of having a healthy competition, as an employee, what else can I do different to make, to see that I move the bar from where it is to somewhere better?
Yeah, the key word for an employee is that you have to develop competences.
Okay.
And let me say that on three backgrounds. First, an average employee coming to work in Nigeria has been through a lot in education. I mean, there's strike, there's old syllabus, there's just how this thing works. So he or she comes to the workplace and is almost in shock. Like, hey, this was not what they taught me in school. Can I run away? Can I do something else? And he also is competency deficient if he's not careful from day one. He or she must keep it in view that I must learn to do things. I must improve myself in terms of my communication skills. I must improve my creative thinking ability. Has the ability to bring out new solutions to the old problems or just do something in a new way. I must be that innovative employee. He or she must think of, oh, I need to develop critical thinking skills. I need to be globally minded in my thought. So if you look at all of the investment, you need to put in yourself as an employee first so that you can be that value-adding person to the organization. Then your growth in the organization is a natural course. Everybody knows the high performer. Everybody knows the guy that gets the job done or the girl that gets us the result, that it's the figures. That's what they say there. And when we see that you are focused on that dynamic, yeah, you know, in an average organization, there is a politics part, there is a performance part.
Yeah.
So that's the one that the employee gets confused. He or she doesn't know whether to stay on the performance extreme, that, okay, I'm a high performer, I get things done on my own, or I work well with people. I just find my way that I get people's buy-in. I get them to do things that they won't otherwise do. I work well with my boss. Those are skills calling for expression in the 21st century that the employee today cannot also deny. Then the second part to the skill is that, you know, careers are getting fused. We will live in a multi-skilled world. There will be all in one, that you can do many things at once. You and I, the perfect closest example we have is our phones. I mean, how many things does our phone do? It used to be what we used to say, hello, hello. It can text, it can check mail, it can control weight, it can send this, it can do email, all in one. So the 21st century employee has to wake up to the reality that I got to learn to do many things. I can't be one thing person. I need to know this, I need to know this, I need to know this, then I can say, okay, this is really where I will be optimized as an employee, like that. But you must have that general skills that you are running away from. It might give you the edge. So then, the first one is you need to conquer that education deficiency by training, by personal development, because we live in a world too that anything and everything can be learned.
Yeah.
So you don't exactly always have to wait for the organization to train you before you get that particular development or capacity building you're talking about.
Can I say this? When the employee or when the employer sees that you are taking this without the help of the organization, there is a way it boosts you in the organization. There is a way, there is a class they put you as an employee that this is not a normal person. Then when you now ask to go for it, because they know you can pay for it, they will do much more than they will do with other people who need them to always pay for it like that. So my friend is now an MD in an oil servicing firm in Nigeria. He said that was the route I take. They saw the way I was hungry for knowledge. I knew I was deficient growing up in some part of my education, and I went for it. I asked the organization to let me get this thing done, and when I got it done, took in my leave. Now they are the ones asking me that, would you love this masters in this country? These are the best 5 schools. Which one would you love to go to? And that has really helped like that. So the first investment starts with the employee to take those initiatives, shop for those trainings. And mainly, if it's coming from the employers, the attitude we have towards those personal development, we live in a culture that thinks that we know a lot of things so much, that sitting in the classroom means you don't know so much. That so if you will have the opportunity to also get trained, sponsored by the employer, give value. Come back with the training report. Come back with execution strategy. Come back with showing that this was profitable to me in this way, in that way, and I think I will add value in the following ways.
So it's supposed to be like a conscious effort. So you just don't go for a training and you remain the same. There has to be a conscious effort to improve, and maybe even improve those around you as well.
That's it, Justin. is that it's an investment we made, and like we say ROI, return on investment, must be high. And now I think it's high is that it improves your performance. Also, it improves other people's performance, because we are in the 21st century workplace that one person does not have to be our star. Everybody must work at becoming the star. It adds value across board like that. So you knowing how to do something, that does not stop. You must make sure that another person catches that, another person catches that. And you know, really, it's different from our culture and education that is so focused on that person. But you know, multinationals, they will not even employ you once they think that you are the only one that wants to win. You must build a culture that helps other people to win, the teamwork. That's why you're talking, okay, I learned something, guys, in my department. Can I spread the knowledge? This is what I saw. This is what I saw. Can't you do this? Why don't you try it like this? When an employer observes that you are that pipe flowing to other people, they will break the roof for you.
Because of succession plan.
Because they think you are adding a lot of value across board to the organization.
Okay. Let us talk about, go ahead.
All right, I was thinking we should take the employer seats now. I mean, we're speaking about the employee now. As an employer now, what do you expect? From my own mind, I think an employer is the main vision, yeah? And then probably there's, for every establishment, we all, most employers believe whatever it is they establish should outlive them. So as an employer now, how do you ensure that you plan out your vision in such a way that you have like a ladder of how this can outlive you? How do you see to it that this vision goes beyond you? It's not just what you think should be with you and end with you. I mean, okay, let me talk from the angle of fashion, where we have so many cosmetic lines, and even the founders are late. When it comes to cartoons, the Walt Disney of today, I mean, he's not even here to see what he started, you know. So how do you, as an employer, see to it that your vision outlives you?
Uche, let me bring us back to some dynamics. The bedrock that starts a business or gets you to that seat of an employer also matters. Okay. So for instance, if you started a business all to survive, you can't even say 5 years, you can't even say 10 years, and you can't say 50 years. I mean, I need to feed my family, I need to send children to school. That's why this whole business is set up. Is it wrong technically? No, it's just the purpose. So it can't drive the sustainability dynamics. I mean, when you discuss that with that type of employer, he or she is confused. I think set this up for all the things you're talking about. But you know, all this vision, you know, oh, a company is 50 years, a company is 100 years. It's the concept of visioning that has been brought by the visioner that this will exist long after I have gone. And he or she will build with that structure. So my challenge for employer this morning is, how far do you think your business will go? What are you building for? Is it just to pay school fees or clear some house rent? Or this productivity context of Africa that I discussed, you want to see how your organization can play the part. You want to stretch the back. Because look, guys, the limit of an organization most times is that employer, is that leadership. If you can't see it further, it can't go further. Everybody will just be ruffled over the small pie like that. But if we want the pie to be bigger, if we think we are significant in some element and in some ways, that will impact on what we will even call our vision, what we will call our processes. It will impact on our discipline. It will impact on what we can do and what we cannot do, which is the conversation with the employer. So setting a culture in place after you have done your vision will be based on what you think is going to grow into. Culture is the way of life, is how we have agreed to behave, what's important to us as a group of people. And knowing that culture must become stronger than the people. People must fit into structure, into that culture. They must seek after that culture. You yourself, you also build yourself into the culture. That if we say it's 8 o'clock, I don't apologize 8:05, that, oh, I'm sorry, I came late. People are observing the way of the behavior. You know you are the first determinant of the culture. And you can raise those bar if you really grow. Your organization can blossom amazingly, more than what you ever imagined like that. And yeah, you want profit, you want productivity, you want performance, you want the market share increase, you want more customers, you want loyalty from employees. Okay, which is a part that employees don't understand why the employer guy wants loyalty from does this loyalty test from time to time and thinks, who is going to stay with me to build? It's just reluctant that, okay, you've stayed with me for 5 straight years, you've stayed with me for 5 months, I've taught you, I've worked with you, I've trained you personally, informal training, you're on the job training, and you just walk up to me one way and you tell me you're going. The employer thinks that's disloyalty, that's or you're going to work for my competitor, like that. And I think there's something we call loyalty management. You've got to manage your loyalty as an employee. And employers too must understand that the loyalty management for you is people won't stop with you, they must keep growing. Okay. They must keep getting better. They can have other opportunity, and it will be such a pleasure that you are that linked to that opportunity. Like
so you
that.
should not feel bad.
So don't feel that you will hold people for the rest of their life. It's that you will simplify your training structure and help people to grow quickly through it. Like, oh, it's gone to function in another place. Can I get somebody else to do this?
But then again, how do you reduce the issue of redundancy at team line levels? For instance, especially when you get to put people in teams, and some people just want to hide under the performance of others, just to show that they should be there, while in the actual terms they are not really performing. How do you begin to make sure that everyone in a team understands the vision, abides by it, and actually contributes towards it?
So yeah, that's the danger of a team. You can have, like we say in HR, that a team is as strong as its weakest link, like that. So one of the things we encourage is that you also have to plan for individual performance within the team. Okay. And there are metrics that you set it under performance management that you use. Everybody must have their own individual goal. Everybody must work their own individual discipline, like that. That will make sure that we get a place where everybody can function, and I can measure, I can break down performance. I can know who did 20%, I can know who did 40% as an employer. I can look at it and say, okay, these are agreed metrics, these are individual performance rating that you have. This is what your boss thinks you've done, the leader of the team. This is what your teammate thinks you have done. This is what people that even report to you thinks you have done as a fragment of a team. So the rule is that you reward the team first, then you reward the individual performance, like that. And I love, if depending on the size of organization, there must be that conversation that affirms performance or lack of it, like that. The conversation that, oh, these were the target at the beginning of the year, this was the target at the beginning of the period, this was what you have done. But somebody is on 5, you're on 3.5. This is why I think you're on 3.5. If you do this way, it's just breaking down the organizational matrix to elements that we can all identify with and work with, and therefore we can tell ourselves people have moved from 1 to 2 or 3 to 4. That improvement conversation prevents redundancy. The last solution I always have is get your weakest link out if you have done all you can do. Like that. Sometimes it's what we do to shock the system to life. So if we have been having this low performance conversation over time for 2, 3, 4 times, it's time to take those actions that you need to exit. When you exit, I think those points where some employees say thank you to you, that thank you, you've done everything for me. I mean, we had a conversation in the first quarter or in this first year that these were performance index, you miss it largely. Is there anything you want us to do? And we identify training needs, we identify some things you need to do. Second, the performance didn't get better. Third, it's time to ask you, maybe you should do other things with your life and not spread redundancy in the organization. Because the danger is that when people begin to think anything is allowed in that organization, they begin to also feel high performance drop to that level too. And so far we are all rewarded equally, and there is no recognition, there are no strategy to reward high performance. Maybe I'm doing too much, and maybe I need to reduce it. And those are correctional things that we need to set in place to prevent redundancy.
Okay, so I like us to look at employer-employee relationship. I mean, in recent years, you see multinationals go out with, okay, let's say from the senior management to the middle, maybe senior and junior management, go out, they have a retreat, just a way of having one-on-one with them.
Bonding, reassessing the vision.
How is that really effective? How is that? How does that affect the growth of an organization positively? How does a retreat generally? So
a retreat gets us to have the time, for us to really do conversations, to do planning, which are elements in human development. I mean, when we get to retreat, there is no, I'm closing 5 o'clock. I have to see my children. Sometimes they close 11 o'clock to resume 5, they close 12. There are assignments, there are intensity. So the strategy of retreat is that we can have many things done within 3 days, within 4 days of staying together. We can reassess our vision, we can look at the focus, we can challenge ourselves on critical success factors that we need to do. We can look at the lines we are consistently missing. Then the power to it also does along the line is that we see ourselves as a team. Sometimes the team activities bonds us together.
Okay.
And like I always say to people, if 2 of you are doing the same thing in a team, then 1 person should go.
Yeah.
Is that we will identify our differences and know what we are contributing so that all of us can sharpen our edges and therefore get the results to be different from what we have been achieving like that.
Okay.
Retreat is one strategy that organizations use to track, monitor their growth and have honest conversation, feedbacks that can guarantee growth. You know?
Speaking of feedbacks now, employer, employee, for instance now, the employer or the company is done with a year end and they have new targets for the new year. You know, normally they do budget session and they do budget retreat. And how do you best communicate, you know, new levels of achievement to your employers, to your subordinates, so they don't really feel bad and they still get carried along? For instance, you know, look at the banking sector. For instance, after each year, the bank always wants to like double or increase profitability from what it made the previous year. And most employees, they see it as more pressure. They see it as you know, the employer doesn't really understand what it is that we can do. Why put on so much pressure on us again? How do you begin to communicate to them that if we achieve this particular level of performance or a particular profitability, we all will enjoy?
So, jokingly, the reward for work is more work.
More work.
Yes.
Am I right? Once you've done it well, the strategy is that we can't keep you on that level. You go to increase it. I will increase it also happens with conversations. Like I ask every time I'm to sit in those type of sessions, this is what you have done. What do you think you can get done again? And he or she says, I've done everything. No, this can't be everything. We are not yet in a perfect state of, and as an organization, we're excellent oriented people, but we can really do more than what we have done. And based on that conversation, targets are set from my side, from the other person's side, from what the organization thinks we can do. Then based on that target, we can cascade to everybody's roles. That this is the new target you have. The thing that is always missing with those type of pressure that people feel, especially in the banking sector, that you said is the lack of communication and the new equipment that comes like that. It's just somebody sending you a letter or a mail that this is what we think your new target is. If you got a fantastic goal, and by the way, you know, people don't leave organizations, they leave bosses.
Yes.
People don't leave organizations, they leave bosses. It's bosses that determine whether people are going to stay for a long time. So that comes with not even the employer, sometimes it's the boss leading the vision. And having those honest conversation, communication with people, inspiring them and showing them what they get because they are going to meet this as a team, as individual, like that. Sometimes people have broken their backs to ensure that they work for the boss objectives. And the bank is convinced that, how are you eating your figures? It's just having those honest conversations, equipping his team, reviewing from time to time and asking, oh, what can I help you to do so that you can do better than what you did the last time? We are on 5 billion now. We've done 2 billion before. Do we need to ask our customers for more deposit from other banks? Do we have to help our customers' business to increase? Do they need a type of facility to be able to do that? So that the field conversation between the boss and the guy running it is very important for us to be able to achieve this objective that we want to achieve. But like I said, which is the bigger part I said I was going to start with, our productivity index in this country has to be better. Whatever we need to do from the employer side, sometimes I feel the things we are chasing are too basic, they are too small.
Okay.
Whether as an organization or as an employee.
But do you think the environment is friendly enough for us to chase bigger dreams?
So, you know, like I said, 3 metrics will work together to make that happen. One is our education, like that education, both what we get in school and out of school. It's time to review those systems that produces our workforce. And education plays a key role like that. Then, education continues while people are on the work, on the job. So I can get you in, and I can look at your competence deficiencies that you need to work and create a plan that works for you to develop that competence. That's also under a lot of things happen under education. The second thing, like we all agreed, is laws and policies that favors growth from. It's not going to be too hard to do a business in a culture. I mean, it's going to be more business friendly when the appropriate laws are in place to help the employer catch higher vision, to stretch him or her to do more, and that, okay, averagely what they work, where they work, the environment, the roads, the water, the light, things are available for people to produce like that. Then the last one that we always agree is the individual making up his or her mind to do it differently, whether as an employer or as an employee.
Okay, please, I'd like you to revisit the issue of targets. I mean, using the human psychology now. Every average person, when you say the word target, there's always that pressure of there's something I need to meet. But I also know that when target is placed with reward,
goes very well.
It goes very well. So now, from the seat of an employer, how realistic can you set a goal and then also be sure that you can meet up with the rewards and also sustain the reward?
Yeah,
I mean, I can set a target, for instance, for you, and you meet the target and the reward is heavy, and of course because of that others want to key into it. So how do I make my target realistic as well as the reward sustainable?
Thank you. I like that. But you know, let's tell ourselves, when there are no targets, relationships are useless.
Yes.
So all this psychology we do, all this connection we do in organization is ultimately that some results have to be achieved. Targets is the heart of defining the result before the result comes, like that. And the second thing I would like to say is that it's no use setting targets that people will not meet. It's not only the person that failed, you also failed. It's like a teacher that taught in class and everybody failed the course. As a leader, as an employee, you've also failed. Not just, so the company failed, you failed, everybody failed. So what's the use of bringing that level of demotivation to the team when you can help them to set realistic targets that people will work in some lines and therefore they win, you win. It's a win-win situation.
But is it good to place targets for, same target for your staff members, regardless of their competencies, their area of strength and weaknesses, or is it good you place in the way that...
Are they on the same level?
In some cases, they might be.
If they're on the same level and their job and responsibility are the same, if you give one a lower target and you give one a higher target because of who you think it is, you confuse the whole structure of the organization.
Yes.
So that's why they gave us they gave us a 50 billion target, and we're all at the same level. The reward is the same. You first want to open it up as a boss to them, like, this is the target. I think if we share it equally, this is what it's going to amount to, because your job, your basic function is the same. Then the team conversation can start happening. The team conversation can mean, last year you brought this amount, you overshot all of us by this. And even though we know we should share it like this, I think I need to increase yours by this percentage because of what I have seen you have done. And really, we'll give it to you that you have won, but help our team to win first, like that. You know, it's layers of conversation. Oh, I think it's too much for me. I think this is so stretching, I won't be able to do up to this. Oh, okay, what can we do, like that? Ultimately, you see that teams that have these honest conversations about target, they're able to simplify it to everyday work, and people are going to be able to take their roles up. Ultimately, the figure is it, everybody wins, like that. Now, the contribution might vary because of those conversations, and you know why it's going to vary, and you reward based on the variations.
Okay. All right, we still have Coach Biodun Kolawole, and we're looking at what does the employer or the employee want. He's still here. We'll take a quick break. Just keep on sending your SMS if you have questions, and feel free to interact with us on social media using the hashtag Galaxy Today. We'll return in a moment. Do join us again.